Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We sure are.
And we're excited today. We have Dr. Kimberly McGeorge with us. She's internationally known frequency master, conscious creation expert, and naturopath energy healer. She invites you to go beyond frequency. Dr. Kimberly has over 25 years of clinical experience in both the alternative health and energy healing field. She has worked on thousands of clients in person and remotely around the world. Today, her infinity scans, a combination of technology and her vast intuitive skills and knowledge, are garnering rave reviews around the world. Her scans cover all areas of her clients' lives, including past lives, soulmates, what's happening at night, money, relationships, health, and career issues. So, and you were the medium for Shane Pittman of the Holzer Files before he landed the show. So that's very exciting. So welcome to our show.
You bet.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we read your bio a little bit, and so can you tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Yeah, it's kind of a wandering journey as it is, I'm sure, for you guys too. Although I love that you guys do this show together. That is so, I could do a show with my daughters, but I could never do a show with my mom. So I think that's so awesome that you guys are on the same wavelength. That's really, really fun. You can do that. So congratulations on that. Just a really wandering journey, woke with I call it partial memory because I had enough memory to know something wasn't right. Like the first time I opened my eyes as a baby, I'm like, dang, why can't I walk? Why can't I talk? So I had that partial memory, but I didn't know like what was going on. I had like fresh come from another life, and being a full human being. And so that's kind of where it started for me. And then, very, very quickly, I started seeing auras around people, seeing symbols around people, seeing portals, seeing beings come through portals, seeing human discarnates, remote viewing, full-fledged gifts. Nobody in my family appeared to have them, which was not helpful. And, obviously you two ladies are on the same wavelength, which, for my children, it was much more helpful to have a mother like that when they had the gifts. But so shut a lot of that down until college, and I moved away from home. And then I started slowly testing the waters, bringing them out. And I went to a college outside of Chicago, and it turned out to be a big hit. I was very, very accurate. I kind of, got a little buzz going, so much so that it attracted the attention of local law enforcement, who at the time was starting the occult crime units. So I worked for the occult crime unit for a little bit, which everyone's like, oh, it's so cool. I'm like, it wasn't cool. When you're 20, you're supposed to be having fun. As you guys know, grisly things and dark things are not cool. But yeah, so I learned that really early. Also, you'll never gonna get rich doing that, ladies. I hate to tell you, it's not like medium or ghost whisperer, nothing glamorous there, no money in that. Just a lot of trauma and horror, really. But it was great. It was like real world testing of your abilities, like thrown in the deep end pretty young. And then my work with the police, they would also call me in on really crazy community cases, like when people in community situations that could have gone off the rails and be exposed to the public, which they weren't doing that at all back then. The paranormal wasn't even popular yet. We didn't have Ghost Adventures or all those shows. So, wasn't the cool thing. I was still uncool back then. But they would call me in on really weird cases. So I started thinking, and now I know I was only thinking I was an expert in, depossession and house clearing. But at the time, at 20, the ripe old age of 20, I thought I was freaking amazing. Now I know I knew nothing, of course. Mom, what I'm talking about. But, so kind of went along the 3D path, got married, had kids. Right away, people in the community heard about my abilities. So I was doing light psychic readings, no charge. And I was doing a lot of house land clearings for money, not great money or anything. I had a lot of health problems, so I started looking to alternative medicine for solutions to my own health. Eventually discovered homeopathy, and from homeopathy discovered energy technology, and then brought that into my practice. And again, through word of mouth, one happy client at a time. developed quite a local reputation, eventually wrote for some international magazines. So I got, a little wider reputation, and I ended up having some clinical practices as a naturopath using frequency medicine. The whole time I was kind of pulling my, psychic abilities, along and dipping in here and there, until the internet became really big and we all got on the internet, and that's how Shane found me. And I was psychic medium for a number of paranormal groups during that era. I kind of got out of the paranormal niche, even though, of course, I'm still me, because I found it kind of really, really dark. The conventions were dark. I don't know if you girls have been to any of that or gotten involved in any of that. But you're wise. So I would go to paranormal conventions. It was kind of like a motorcycle rally that they called a paranormal convention. So it just wasn't me as a mom, as a single mom with young children. It wasn't something that I could really immerse myself in, I guess all the way is what you would say. So still using my abilities, and, eventually just, I don't know, just worked and ground and got known, and, developed my own methods, developed a couple apps. One was an orange chakra app, and got really involved with frequency and technology, and the rest is kind of history. I don't want to keep talking because I'm old.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's really incredible, and it's amazing how often we start out as so young with these things. And yes, I was very blessed because I did have a mom that was into all of that and understood it. So yeah, when the questions came up, it was like, okay, what do I do now? What do I do with this? And she was a blessing that way
Thanks,
too.
Plus, it was fun
Aw.
when she was growing up too, because all her friends were, hey, how do you know this? And how can you do that? And,
Mm,
yeah, it became
love
a
that.
fun night every now and then for us all to get together.
Aw,
Quite an experience.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's funny because my granddaughter, we raised my granddaughter, and it's really quite funny
Wow.
because now she's getting into some of this stuff, and so then she's venturing out, and then it's like, maybe don't try that. Maybe, you don't know what you're doing with that right now, so let's just like pull back the reins a little bit, right? So do you find
Yeah,
that with
I
your
agree.
children that you've had that kind of path with them?
Well, yeah, my daughter came to me, my oldest daughter came to me when she was 5. I don't know why. I was so silly. I didn't even think about passing on psychic abilities. It just wasn't something, I don't know, I thought about. And she came to me when she was 5 and she goes, Mommy, I need to go to the doctor. I'm like, why, honey? She's like, I see colors and shapes and symbols all around people. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So it's so nice to be able to celebrate those gifts and really, like you said, mentor them. And I have a grandson too. He's 2.5. And it's so cool because he'll point at the sky and he'll go roar, and I'll look up and I'll see the dragon cloud, or I'll see, he'll go down on the ground and he'll get all excited. And I'm like, oh, you see the little people, or you see the fairies, because I have that kind of, dimensional sight.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool because I am the only one. Not that his mom isn't metaphysical and into this, she has her own abilities, but there's a difference between having that and then really desiring, as you guys know, to impart that or to mentor that or to coach that. So she doesn't, it's not that she doesn't validate or have any doubt of my abilities, but I don't think she's decided as a mother what she wants to do, if that makes sense with her. So I'm kind of sneaky grandma. I hope she never watches this. I'm going to watch him in a couple weeks, you guys, and I'm bringing a selenite wand, and I'm going to teach him how to use his power so he feels more comfortable with the dark things, and use the selenite wand as a wand. And they have no idea that's the planned activity. It's not like she would care, but I don't think she would endorse it. So I'm just not going to ask, grandma, don't ask, don't tell politics.
Beg for forgiveness afterwards, right?
That's right. All that, all that. Yeah.
Well,
So it's exciting, it's exciting to see all these young children coming in. They're so profound. I just did a class yesterday, and we had like a Q&A, and people were telling me the stories of their kids and grandkids. I think they're way beyond what I am. Like, they're coming in, like, I don't know what you guys observe or what you think, but I'm like, who are these people? They're like just so powerful,
Yeah, that's so true. One of our grandsons, he's the littlest one, and he has quite a lot of things. So his mom often texts me, and she'll be like, he saw this thing and he's talking about this man in the closet and what he looks
Wow.
like. And then, he's
Wow.
them climbing and all these different things. And so I said,
Right.
well, I said to her, if it gets to be too much for him, or you think that it's a negative thing, then
Mhm.
you need to tell them to go away.
Mm.
Oh, I can do that? I'm like, yeah, you can. And
Oh
you need to
yeah.
be firm. Like, you need to be like, get out, right? And teach him these things because
Mm.
it's okay for us, I think, as parents to do it for our children, but I think we empower them so much more, like you are going to do for your grandson, if you're teaching them how to use these powers they have.
Yeah,
And
it's
believe
super
it. I
cool.
think that's the whole thing too, is believing what they see is a possibility that it's real. And they're,
Oh,
it's
I
not,
love that.
it's,
Mm.
and that teaches them how to work around it, right? And to know that they don't have to always be afraid of what they're seeing, that, on the most part, most of it's good, and then how it can empower them. Like it's like a walking cane with them if they let it, to empower them as they go along to get their own magic as they progress in this
Mm.
lifetime, you know. to
Yeah. In a way, you're saying, encourage them to be comfortable with the multidimensional world, not fear it, the good, teach them also. We have that opportunity, like you just said so beautifully, to teach them the richness, the positive side. My youngest daughter, the mom of this grandson, actually says to me, "Mom, I can't believe you live out in the middle of the woods, when it's dark, it's really dark. It's like pitch black, you guys." And she's like in the middle of the woods in the mountains. And she's like, "That's terrifying. How do you live out here by yourself?" I'm like, "I'm not by myself. Like I have so many, amazing beings, from the human discarnates to the Sasquatch, to the dogmen, to the Fae, to the little people, and they're not negative. They're not scary. They're completely supportive. We have each other's backs. And I think as adults, and I know you guys aren't this way, but as 3D adults, to lose out on the magic of those kingdoms, you're missing out, you guys. I don't care. It's my experience. I will stand in my experience. Some people think I'm crazy. Some people think I'm lying. Some people think I'm delusional, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. That relationship I have with these beings.
Yeah, I was really fortunate because she believed in what I was doing too. And then she was learning along that as she had her boys and that, she allowed me to speak to the kids and say different things. So if they were having problems and stuff, they would say to me, Grandma, can you help me this way?
Aw.
Absolutely. I'll put a prism on your door and it's going to protect you, and tell them all about it. And it would give them a sense of feeling they were comfortable and they didn't have to be afraid of what was in the room.
Power.
And Kim went along with that. So, because she had her own beliefs as well, right?
Sure,
Which is the
sure.
nice thing, because she has her form of beliefs that she's gathered along the way.
Mhm,
And I didn't
mhm.
get in her way because that's her stuff, right?
Right.
And so doing with the kids, the grandkids too, they have adopted their own form of believing because that's their stuff.
I
Right?
love that. I
Mm.
love that you guys allow that in your family, and I love, Kim, that you continued that. Your mom allowed that with you, and then I think that's just I think that's really, I think a parent should be a guardian, but I think within that guard, until you can lift it, there should be so much freedom, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like it just seems like as people are evolving, as we are evolving as a
Mhm,
human race,
mhm.
that everything's getting faster and everything. And so our
Great.
children are coming into this world at a different level than, say, I would have born at, or what my children were born at. They are so much more evolved
I agree.
with that. And so I think that's why we're seeing all these kids that have these experiences now, that they're like, oh, I saw that thing walk by, what is that? And it's nice that we can teach them. So do you find that as well? And do you find with technology and things like that, it's helping us evolve more, or do you think it's hindering us?
Yeah, I have a little bit different view. I mean, I just kind of a neutral view on technology. I definitely understand and know about all the negative technology, the area body networks. I know that our phones are mind control. And I don't mean, everybody's like, oh, yeah, when we go on social media, it's mind control. I'm like, no, when your phone is lying there, it's mind control. Like, I know about all that. I know about a lot of things a lot of people don't even know. My family works in human cloning and the transfer of human consciousness. So yeah, I know about a lot of technology. And we're way beyond what people could even imagine in almost all areas of AI, but yet there's so much benefit to it. And we've been having the benefits of it for so long. Ultrasound is, based on everything's of course frequency, but we've had ultrasound MRIs and CT scans, and those have all been being run by AI for ages. And we don't seem to have a problem with that. The pacemakers and the ear implants in the brain, right, that help quote deaf or partially deaf people hear, and the implants that they've been testing that help people see, and the artificial limbs that are run by AI, and the ones that the voice box. I mean, we can go on and on. So we've had this augmented human, they talk about transhumanism. We've been in transhumanism, technically, the basics of it, for a long, long time, and no one had a problem with it. So it's interesting, the judgment that comes into play. So at what point is it when we're half metal or half AI and half flesh? Like, who's the morality police of even the transhumanism? It's just such a weird time to be in, where we're not one or the other, where we're judgmental about kind of technology, if that makes any sense, but we all use it profusely, on the positive side. So I just see a lot of judgment that I don't really believe in. I think it's from your perspective, what's right, what's wrong. It depends who's talking. A blind man that can see because of technology might be like, yeah, I'm 100%. And somebody else who knows nothing about it might be, that's evil. You're partial robot now,
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I think there's, like you said, it's kind of, there's benefits, and then there's some downsides
sure.
to it. And I think that's some of what we allow into our lives too, when you're looking at some of these downsides of, if you don't want to be impacted in the more negative kind of thing, don't do it. Don't be there, or
Don't
call
follow
in.
you.
But you're right, there's so many advantages to this technology that we have around us now. So I think that's a great thing.
It is, it really is.
And do you find then that with some of these different things, do they help with with what you do, or do they, like, how do you use them?
So that we're allowed to have quantum technology, which not all AI is quantum, all time, all space, no time, no space, stuns me. So really, I see the technology I use as the remedy for the dark use of, technology and invasiveness of running whole AI systems. And I don't know if you guys know what I'm, referring to, but they run whole AI systems, companies and corporations, off of our body network, off of our biofield. So I see the technology I use that comes into the biofield. It uses the same mechanism or the same vehicle as the sinister AI, but instead of taking and siphoning and co-opting, it's correcting and balancing and kind of coming back in and saying, okay, I'm going to fix what EMF, what 5G, what all this stuff, messes up. We're going to come in and we're going to say, okay, that's great, but how are we looking today, and how can we balance that out? And really, and I think you girls know this, I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but when you are intuitive and you do learn to go inside and then directly to the information, I don't know how you guys read, but I don't channel. Some people channel their higher self, but I go directly to the information. So, and I've always gone directly to the information from when I was young. And so even as a remote viewer, I know the military style of remote viewing, but I don't use it because I don't have to. Why am I going to be like, hey, give me a blind, when I can just be like, no, just tell me what you want me to look at and I'll go there. Like, you know what? So I'm not discounting that there's not other ways to come about things, but the fact that we always could, forget technology, all of us right now in this moment have access to all information. They just don't tell us that. They don't want us to know that, all of us, even not just the three of us, you guys do too, even if you don't think you're gifted. And so for them to allow us to develop this technology that is the translator or interpreter of like some of the things you guys and I do, naturally is
Yeah.
shocking. I'm like, I keep waiting for I'm like, when are they taking this away? And I think it's, again, the people that have the technology are not like me. So they haven't put the 1 + 1 together equals 2. So they don't understand how powerful it is, if that makes any sense. Because really there's nothing that can't be known ever, even in the future, because all time is now. And we are everything. So how could we not be able to access everything? So it all makes sense from a big picture perspective, but to be able to have these different machines and different apps that help you actualize that and give you that, what I call the balance. So you guys know, when you're first starting to read, especially publicly or for pay or clients, it's different when you're telling your friend, hey, blah, blah, blah. It's just totally different. You know, you're more nervous, there's more pressure, you want to be accurate. And so what I love about this technology is if you don't have the benefit of, like you guys do, having a mom or a grandma, you know, like your kids, and, you know, to bounce things off of, this provides the bounce because it's reading frequencies. So I can be like, in my mind, oh, I think this person had an affair. I'm just giving you an example. Not that it matters, but it's just a weird example. And I'll be like, okay, I'll go remote view. And I'll be like, oh, I definitely think they had an affair. But if I doubt that, before I go to the client, I can look at their field and the frequencies in their field. And I can say, double check, bam. I always say I should be a billionaire because I don't want to say I'm always right, but I'm kind of always right. So it's just this beautiful feedback loop. You know what I mean, though? That's what a lot of psychics are missing. That's why a lot of people don't trust their knowing or trust their gifts, because they don't have that definitive balance or even a wise learned mentor, let's call it. So I think we can use this, and I do, and, you know, I teach people how to use it to develop their abilities and start believing in their knowing, because I believe all information is really comes from within. You know, I don't think it's anything as magical as these abilities seem. They're so natural to everybody, you know?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. And I think that's always been something that we've always said along, like mom told me that, and then told other people, not just family, but it's like, you know, one time my daughter-in-law or my stepdaughter was here and she was like, oh, I wish my friend would come from the other side. I'm like, well, your friend's like right there. And she's like, oh, afterwards, she's like, well, that was so nice. She came to visit you. I said, no, no, no. She came to visit you.
That's
And
really
she
neat.
does, but you're not open to it because you could just talk to her yourself, right?
I
And,
love that.
you
Very
know,
ethical that you say that. Yeah, I love
yeah,
that.
like, you know, it's just, I'm here and I can do this. So because I am open, here's your message, but you can do it anytime. Just open your mind and trust that the messages that you're getting are correct.
I
Yeah.
agree, totally agree with you. I think that's the program that they have programmed possibly into the body, that doubt, like, wait, I just saw something standing in the woods. No, you're crazy. You didn't. So you immediately shut it down. Like,
Yeah.
you don't open it up. You don't lean into it. You lean out of it. And I think that's what they teach us to do most of the days, teach most of us to do when we're young, is no, you didn't. You know, I remember running to my parents and saying, somebody's knocking from the inside of my closet. Like, I'm sorry, you guys, you do not imagine knocking in your closet. You just don't. That's just not something you're going to make up. Like, who wants somebody knocking in their closet? Not me. And by the way, guys, I still don't want that. don't even try me. They're going to try me. I should never have used that example. But yeah, so, you know, and my parents are like, no. And so my parents, at least they came upstairs with me. You know what I mean? And they opened the closet and there's nothing there. Well, of course the beans aren't going to knock when my parents are there. So
Of
then
course.
that's a total mind F, if you guys know what I mean. Because then I'm like, oh, maybe I am crazy. So we get these negative feedback loops, you guys, and sometimes even from the beings themselves. Because you guys know there's so many there's prankster human discarnates, there's prankster positive energies. The Fae love to pull pranks, the little, like the Sasquatch pull pranks. I mean, I've got a funny Sasquatch story. So one time I ordered them like this rag doll for their, you know, babies and the young ones. And I trudge all the way back in the woods, boom, 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 you know, hike back in the woods, you know, with this doll, all tickled with myself. And I, you know, put it in their little, you know, tree things where they'll eventually find it. And a couple days later, my dad came and I didn't go out to see him. He came in and he's carrying this doll. And I'm like, oh my God, like, where did he get that doll from? You know, did he go in the woods? Like my mind just wasn't computing. He's like, why do you have, and I live by myself. And he's like, why do you have a doll lying in your driveway? And I'm like, the Amazon guy dropped it out of the truck. Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I'm not going to tell my dad, like, Sasquatch threw my gift back in the driveway, you know, which is probably what happened. It was just so funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, the stuff I have to make up to like hide this life from my parents, you know? But it just goes to show, and you guys know this because you interact with them, but these beings, we think they're like two-dimensional. We think we force our will, our lifestyle, our concepts on them, but each of them have their own personality. And you learn that really quick when you start interacting with the unseen world, of course.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I find it's really funny because now a lot of times I love taking pictures of things, and I'm very much one of those people that I can see the people in the trees and it just, that's
awesome.
part of who I am. And so I took this picture the other day of the clouds, and the storm was coming in, and then I didn't notice it when I was looking. So I looked back at my picture and I'm like, oh, there's an alien head in the side of, yeah, no lie, like unbelievable. I'm like, holy crap. So I send it to my granddaughter right away. Look at the alien in the clouds. And then I send it to you. But it was so neat. And then it was funny because my trainer was talking about this entity that's at her house. And she's like, can you just look at this video? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And I'm like, there's like people in your tree. And she goes, what? I'm like, look, there's the face. And she's like, yeah, okay. Like, but it was good because it's nice when you say these things to people and people are receptive.
Yes.
Because as you know, with your story that you just told,
lots
not always are they receptive, and you're like, how am I going to explain this?
People
Right.
look at you like you're crazy, right? And yeah.
Do you guys feel like, see, so in my experience, I've been able to show many people how to see. So they're like, well, if I vibrate so high and you're telling me I'm so amazing and I have this ability and that ability, then why can't I see the fourth dimension? Which is kind of a great question, right? And I'm like, because you don't know where to look and you don't know how. I said, you know, so I'm doing a live event coming up, you know, in the fall, and I'm like, I'm doing 2. And I told the guy that just asked that, I'm like, you're going to be at the live event. Remind me when we're there, and I'll show you that you can see. I say we don't see because we don't look. I don't think they know where to look. It's not that they can't see. Don't you guys kind of think that? Because you just showed your trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where to look. It's where to trust.
I love that. That's good too. Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, we all know that they move quickly.
That's true too.
You know, so when they move quickly like that, it's us being able to slow it down enough to actually see what it is. And learning how to do that itself is something that takes time, right? But knowing that we can do it, but knowing that we can do it is the whole thing, right? So to me, like,
that's a great tip.
Things come so easily to me that you know, sometimes I miss it because I'm not even paying attention, right? and it just comes easy, but I have to remind myself to slow it down. Slow it down. Then you're going to see the whole progression of what's going on in front of you, because they do move quick, right?
I think the opposite side of that advice is slow you down.
And that, because I'm a goer.
If I wasn't in the middle of the woods, if I didn't go sit among them, and if I didn't kind of soften my gaze and make myself available to be contacted, how are they going to contact me running to the grocery store? Oh, I need this for guacamole and this. Like, they're not, you know what I mean? Like, we need to put ourselves, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I had your abilities. I'm like, well, do you sit for hours in the woods like I do? They're like, who has time for that? I make time for that. If you want to have the reward of certain things, like developing a relationship, right? You and your mom wouldn't have a good relationship if you never saw each other and never visited each other, were never in each other's presence, never talked. It's the same thing. These beings want relate. You guys, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but people don't understand. Like the beings in my woods, they want relationship. They want FaceTime. They do. They want me to go sit among them. They hold their babies up for me to see. I have pictures. I'm a big picture person too. I like to prove what I'm saying. They like to watch my dogs. They come to the edge of the woods and greet me when I get home. I mean, that's relationship. That's not beings that don't care about each other, don't come greet you basically at the door when you get home, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I just don't think there's enough of yous and me's out there teaching this stuff, if that makes sense. It's all the, let's put a hat on backwards and get on a four-wheeler and get my gun and bows and arrows. We're going to go hunt these beings through the woods. It's that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that, we do have to quiet yourself down, because I find if we don't allow that space and that quietness, where do we talk to these beings? Where do we allow our higher consciousness and the messages that are coming? Like, how could we even hear them? Because we're too busy distracting ourselves with all this different stuff, right? And I know even for myself that sometimes I'll go through something and I'll say, oh, why am I not, like, I haven't picked up on anything, or I'm not really seeing anything. And I'm like, oh, right. Because you got your face in your phone and you're, having a glass of wine, and you're dulling yourself with TV, and you're bustling through life, and you're just not even allowing that space to come in to be able to accept that. So it's not that they're not there. It's just that they're like, okay, well, when you're ready, I guess we'll just hang out.
I love that. Yeah, really, really true.
So how do you think people, like, what would be one tip that you would give to people like our followers about how they can open up besides just finding that stillness and quieting down?
Yeah, I mean, it's really simple, and it's the cheapest thing in the world, and everybody's resistant to it because we're programmed not to do it. So I think any study that, first of all, you would put toward, and I'm not talking medication, because meditation is a bunch of mind work to even get there to where you can meditate. And I've actually never meditated, but I do encourage people to sit in no mind state. And there's in a lot of Eastern methodology, there's an ancient manuscript called Sitting and Forgetting that teaches you a great late at night habit of how to start to empty and quiet and go into no mind, or like a still mind. And that's a beautiful place to be anyway, because it's peace. There's no obsessive thoughts in no mind. There's no, worry in no mind. You just have space for all possibility and creation. And I don't know a lot of people that have gotten to that. It took me more years than I want to say, 48 years probably, to even begin to approach no mind. And I can get there now, and I mostly have that. So when some of this technology that people aren't aware that we have, like, voice to skull, they can put images in your mind that you think are yours, inserting false memories. One thing I was talking about last night was a lot of people feel guilty for their thoughts. They're like, why did I just have like this random thought, like somebody was going to kill my grandma? And they feel guilty that they're like, why would I think that? And, is it a prophecy? Is it a prediction? Is it whatever? And a lot of times it's not. It's these inserted, random thoughts. So we all think we have, we think we're the only one that has weird thoughts or random thoughts, but everybody has them, because that's the nature of the technology, to keep you distracted, to take you out of a silent mind, to make you feel bad, guilty, or wrong, and feel shame. And then we're spinning in all that, and it's just, downhill from there. How you're going to be connecting with human discarnates or your higher self or your timelines or anything when you're in all that mess. And that's not even, counting all the day-to-day stuff we all deal with. So there's just a lot of programs to, in my opinion, that we forget that we're limitless, eternal, magical, powerful beings. And there's nothing we can't do. And there's nothing we can't see. There's nothing we can't hear. There's nothing we can't know. There's nothing we can't create. And so again, nature's a shortcut to that, because I think nature almost forces you, if you don't take your phone, if you don't take your friend, if you don't take your husband or wife, and you really safely, of course, because we all know the national park stories, but safely, if you go sit in nature alone, and nature doesn't have to be some profound, like you guys are going camping, it doesn't have to be you go away and go out. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It can be finding a park in a quiet corner that no one knows about, in public, in nature, sitting, safely. You can have nature in Central Park in New York City. You can have nature in an apartment complex on your deck. You mentioned the sky. Sky is nature. There's so many. The sylphs are in the sky. The dragons are in the sky. There's ETs in the sky. A lot of beings hang out in the sky. And I find a lot of messages, even from my animals, they'll put them in the sky. One time I called up my second oldest daughter, Sierra, and I said, oh my gosh, my dog Luna, my little Yorkshire Terrier, passed a while ago. And I said, Luna just sent me a sign. And she goes, Mom, you're crazy. Even though they know me and they're psychic themselves, sometimes you just go over the line of what they're willing to accept. And I go, no, there is a cloud that is a Yorkshire Terrier. Exactly. Like in detail, like perfect. Like would it be like you guys looked at it and said, no, that's a basketball? No, you would look at it and say, that's a Yorkshire Terrier. So I sent her the picture and she goes, okay, I'm with you. I think Luna did send you that sign because that is a Yorkshire Terrier cloud. Who teaches us that beings, not just your pets, your grandma, your friend, whoever, all sorts of beings can send you the Sasquatch love to play with the clouds. They put messages in the clouds too. Like, who teaches us that? I've never heard that in my life. No human being, no book, no show, no manuscript. I've never heard say what I just said, except for you and I talking about the clouds today. I've never heard it,
It was interesting as the kids were growing up. I was sort of a gypsy. I like to go and see things for myself. And unfortunately, they had to come along for the ride. Or fortunately, either
lucky girl, lucky kid.
But what I would do when they would become anxious and rebellious or whatever you want to call it in the back seat, I would say to them, okay, guys, I want you to start looking at the clouds and tell me what you see in the clouds. And I want you to tell me about that, and that would distract them enough, that they would calm down and they, oh yeah, look, I see that and I see that. And it was so cool because it was also expanding their imagination to look up and possibly see something else, right? So it did two things for me, for them. Right.
Love that.
It calmed them down.
Amazing.
Plus it made them use their minds beyond just what
the imagination and starting to visualize, which is cool too. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's interesting. One of the ways I believe these beings contact us, if you're energy sensitive, or as I would say I am frequency sensitive, the beings will ping me. So I'll be driving in the car and I'll get pinged 5 miles up the road and I'll know to get my camera out and I'll just start filming the roadside. And I live in North Carolina, so it's a lot of woods, houses and woods, mixed. And one day I was doing that. I got pinged. I don't know why this being pinged to me. And I think it's up on one of my YouTubes. I don't know if it's members only or not. But when I went back to review it, like you review your footage or you look at your pictures, oh my gosh, you guys, I caught the most amazing thing. I caught a angel of death in the woods, walking across, daytime, guys, sun's out, walking across this yard. It walks across, okay, so walks out of the woods behind this tree, across the yard again in daytime and into the side of the house daytime.
Wow. Very cool.
I was like, people do not, like, they're just driving by, but only me gets the sun film. So it's just, but it's cool that we can get that proof. Like, again, you guys have the most magical thing. We have these devices that are able to see those bands, which I believe, knowing what I do about how they're created, the technology they're created on, I actually believe if I couldn't see with my eyes that stuff, I wouldn't be able to get it with my camera. People think the camera reflects reality. I believe the camera reflects your reality.
100%.
The camera is an extension of your eyes. Your eyes are the original holographic projector, and all your devices mirror you. And that's the flip is usually taught. So what I tell people to do is go out and use masking tape or like spray paint and mark a line on their driveway or their yard. Doesn't matter where you live. It could be a park. You can live in an apartment. You can live in the woods. Doesn't matter. You can live in the city, country. Doesn't matter. Subdivision. And I say, stand on that line, face the same direction for like 7 to 14 days and just take a picture. Don't even look at them until you have like 14 days or 7 days or 10 days of pictures. If you want to know the nature of reality, line them up like on a slide or on your computer, there's editing software you can do that on, and blow each picture up and play that game. What's different in this picture? I don't mean like a bird that lands,
Yeah.
I'm saying trees will disappear, trees will appear, bushes will appear. You'll see beans. I see, where I find the most beans. If you guys want to practice seeing, not you guys, but if your listeners want to practice seeing, go to the real estate listings and look at land listings. It's as particularly in the country, but even not in woods, on wooded property, mountain property. I have found, you guys, class A photography. Of course, I'm reading the frequency, so the normal person would look at it, they wouldn't pick it out, but I get it. But I found a picture on a real estate photo of a stream of an miniature org carrying a person across the stream. Clear as day, class A. Like no one would disagree with me what it is. So these pictures are there. Again, if you don't look, you don't see. And so there's plenty for us to practice on. And then my favorite thing that people do, which I actually am still not comfortable with, is to turn off the light in your bedroom at night, shut your door, leave the hall light on in the hall, wait a couple minutes, kind of forget what you're doing, but then hopefully you'll remember, and then stick your head down and look under the door. A couple minutes, it won't even take a couple minutes, couple seconds, you'll see the beans. There's always beans going back and forth under the door. Always.
Yeah.
Little beans, big beans, sometimes you'll see feet or like a person walking by, and film it with your camera. I mean, then you'll have a permanent record. When I don't even do it. When I get up to go to the bathroom, if I forget and leave a light on, I'm like, don't look under the door. Don't look under the door. I deal with it. So even me, it's creepy sometimes to know how many beans are literally
Around
rushing
us.
around.
Yeah. Well,
All
it was
around us
actually
all the
funny this morning because when she came in, first she scared me, but when I was I have a morning ritual, so I was in my room and I was like journaling and doing my cards and
you.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then
I
I'm
love that.
like, oh, what is that sound? And I'm alone in the house, so I'm like, oh, the house is very creaky today. No, there is totally somebody in here with me because it's just, I do believe that the house is settling. So anyway, she comes into the house, scares me, and then she's standing there for a minute. She goes, you know that you have a being in the house with you, right? And I'm like, yeah, I totally do. I figured
That's
morning.
cool.
So
I
it
love
was neat.
that.
But yeah, and back to your pictures, like I think I was doing inspections at work and I had to go to this church spot and they were rebuilding the church because it had burnt down in a fire.
Okay.
Anyways, there's the graveyard there and then all these trees. And so then I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of the graveyard with the trees
Oh,
in
smart.
behind. So then I got back to work and blew up the picture so I could look at the trees more so than the gravestones. And the people that I could see in there that were like walking and doing stuff, I was like, that's so cool.
That is so, again, everybody's like, prove it. I'm like, I have literally thousands of pictures, now. I have a good story. One time, my youngest daughter and I were in the woods. We were looking at property on 11 acres at the base of a mountain. And she's like, we started hearing footsteps. You can, when people walk through the woods and the leaves and the sticks, real heavy footsteps. And she goes, Mom, there's somebody here. And psychically, I tune in and I'm like, I don't think it's somebody. She was thinking it was like a man, or something threatening, or a person. And I'm like, definitely there's somebody here. I think there's a lot of somebody's here. I don't think it's the somebody you're thinking, but I got that creepy feeling. You guys know what I mean. There's a difference between innocent beings and sinister beings. So I'm like, I'm getting she was getting the danger feeling. I'm getting the danger feeling. I'm like, we're out of here. So we ran back to the car. We jumped in the car. But before I did that, as soon as she said there's somebody here and we started hearing that, I took my video on my phone and I made a 360 all around. And I'm like, I'll look at it later. Ooh, baby. I have a picture of a black Sasquatch, a white Sasquatch, and a gray alien holding a probe, clear as day, class A, that was just feet away from us. So yeah, there were beans there, but what would we do with probe. Well, I'm glad we didn't see the ground. But come to find out, the land I was looking at, which I didn't buy because of that incident, is there's an underground military base under that mountain. So we would be right up against that mountain with the underground military. Who knows what beings are coming in and out even of the base? And I'm not
Yeah,
even
yeah,
talking.
icky feeling with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did. My
Uh,
hair was standing up my
So
arm.
again, I love that. I love that. You're so on it. Yeah. So I think people need to honor their intuition, even I, with my sight, I didn't see those beings. So sometimes the beings cloak. Sometimes we're just not on the same frequency wavelength to see them. Even the most practiced and gifted and astute of us, if they don't want us to see them, we're not going to see them often. And I think we need to honor our intuition. When your intuition says, you know what, I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't feel good. Even I get out of there,
Right. You bet. Because some things you're not supposed to be around anyway, right?
Exactly.
Attachment's not something I wanted to have either. Right. Only the good stuff, really. But
No.
yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
good to know. I'm relieved to know that other people besides me do that, like take videos and take, pictures of things. And because I'm often like when we're out camping and stuff and I'm alone by myself, I'm like snapping pictures of all this stuff. And then
I bet you get
back,
great pics.
right?
You and I should hang out sometime. I bet we would get the best pics we've ever got in our life when you pick two people that do that all the time and know where to take the pictures. We
Yeah.
probably get amazing pics. It's funny. My girls joke. They're like, Mom, like there are more pictures of random beings, woods, and dogs on your phone than us.
Yeah.
That's so
I can
true.
see you and I love you. And yeah.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I can
So-
see you.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had something to leave with our followers as a final thought, what would it be?
If you guys are interested in this stuff, there's so many wise guides like you guys, there are resources. There are people that can help you, give you hints, give you tips. And I say dive in. I mean, most of the things in your normal everyday, they're not going to hurt you. You're going to learn. I mean, these beings have taught me so much about myself. They've taught me so much about the nature of reality. They've taught me so much about even life after death, as you guys know, too. I just think a lot of our answers are in where we think it's invisible, but that's really where a lot of the answers lie. And I encourage you guys to deep dive and use the tools that we have available to us, the technology available to us, and the wisdom. And I just don't think a lot of it's in books. I don't know, maybe you girls have written a book, maybe you should. If you haven't, I plan on, writing some stuff, but I don't think a lot of this I call it old energy information, you know what I mean, from like 50 years ago, I don't think it's valid today. I don't think calling out the Ouija board's always the best way to go.
No.
Mom could probably comment on that.
I can also
So
comment on that.
I say, safely explore. And if you resonate with certain people, even you guys, I'm sure if you get an email and someone asks you a legitimate question, I'm sure you would help them. I'm sure you would give them some suggestions. So don't be afraid to ask, because there's those of us that have been mentored by other people and we are willing to mentor and help, right? I mean, I would assume that for you guys. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and
I mean,
that's great. And that's great that you do that as well, because I think that is important that people know there are people that they can reach out to when they've got questions about some of this stuff.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
well,
Can
now
you-
I know two people that I can bounce some.
there you go, and
And
right back at you.
Exactly. I might be sending you some pics. So.
Right? Perfect. Yeah. And so do you have any events? You said you had 2 events coming up. What events or things do you have that are coming up here?
Yeah, sure. I'm just really briefly. So I do have 2 live events coming up. My New Mexico event's full. It's coming up in 3 weeks, but I still have some space at my live event in North Carolina, near Charlotte at the end of October. If you guys are interested in that, of course, Halloween weekend, of course. I love to have live events on that weekend. They're just really delicious. But yeah, I have a monthly group that meets. It's called Ultimate Evolution, and we talk about subjects like this. I teach. We just had a 2-hour Q&A last night where people can just ask questions, and it's not just me answering them, it's the community answering them. I'll teach classes here and there. I just came through Navigating the Astral, which of course is talking about how to interact with the astral and proactively work in it for your benefit and, to create what you want in your life. So I'll teach periodic, classes. I have an advanced practitioner class, how to teach the technology. once a month. And then I kind of do whatever I want from there. You can go to my website, secrettoeverything.com, get a scan or have a psychic reading.
Nice.
Awesome. Wonderful. And are you on any social media or just your website?
I'm
is
on all the
website?
social media. You can pretty much just drop my name in. Secret to Everything, Kimberly McGeorge. The only thing that's not branded that way, and I hate how you get stuck in this, like when you've started a business like 20 years ago and you've changed your name. So my Twitter handle, well, it's called X now, which is just weird and I don't know, I don't love it. But it's Serene Wellness. So that's kind of the only one that's not branded either with Secret to Everything or my name. But I've been around a while, like you ladies have, and so there's some stuff out there.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you.
It's yes, thank you so much. And we'll put all of those in the show notes and people can
Fabulous.
find you. And yeah, it's been such a pleasure. It's been a lot of
So
fun.
much
And
fun. What a fun conversation. I'm so glad I met you guys.
yes,
Maybe we can
same
even do a
here.
collaboration project. You know, it might be cool to do something. I could really see you girls coming in and doing something practical. Like we could put together something, you know, to help people see, you know, because you guys have such experience with that. So anyway,
Maybe we could do a
awesome.
live thing one day.
That would be
great. Yeah.
On YouTube,
Yeah,
something
that's a
like
good
that,
idea.
where people can come call in and talk to us.
Well,
Tell us
that would be
if you're
fabulous.
available. Let us know when you're available. We'll do that.
Yeah, I want you guys to come on my podcast too. So I know you're busy, so I'll write you and we'll figure that out.
okay.
Beautiful.
Sounds wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
been a
fun.
lot of fun. And everybody else, we will see you the next time.
You betcha you will.